everyone, and welcome to today's episode. We're going to be talking about More Than Friends by Denise Hunter. So, this one is a contemporary romance and it fits within the Christian fiction category, and it's a standalone story. So, why did I want to read this one? Well, I've enjoyed reading books by Denise Hunter in the past. I've read many books by her, including Before We Were Us and Love Unscripted. And you can find book recommendations that I've written for those books at my blog, at my website at narelleatkins.com. And I've also recorded a couple of episodes on Denise's book. So, episode 14 is on The Summer of You and Me, and episode 34 is on the second story Bookshop. And you can find links to those episodes in the show notes, or you can go back through your playlist at your podcast app or at YouTube to find them. So, I'm going to add my usual disclaimer and say many thanks to the publisher who provided an advanced reader copy, and all the opinions that I express in this episode are completely my own. So let's talk about the book. More Than Friends by Denise Hunter is set in Virginia. So we're in the DC, Washington, DC metro area, and we're also at a barrier island as well. So this one has quite a few romance tropes. So we've got the friends to more trope is the main trope in the story, as you probably guessed by the title. We have childhood friends are our leading characters in this one. Our leading lady and our hero grew up near each other. We have our leading lady returning to her hometown from the DC metro area, and they're from different worlds. So even though they started off living on the island, her life has moved in a very different direction, and she's very much a city girl, as we discover at the start of the story. And she thinks that her career and life will be in the city. We have the beautiful Barrier Island in Virginia, which is a tourist destination, and I'll get to that in a bit more detail later. And we have family drama in this one, and we also have a mystery to solve. So the first line in the book is an absolute cracker. As soon as I read this first line, I was totally hooked into the story, and this is what it is. When Jenna Green's boyfriend got down on bended knee in the middle of their favorite upscale restaurant, she frowned in confusion. And as I said, that is a banger of an opening line. And this introduces us to Jenna. So she's 27 years old, living in the Washington metro area. And she has a business degree that she basically left her hometown, the island, and went to college, has stayed in the city area. And she's been working in an orthodontic office as the office manager. Now, chapter one opens on Valentine's Day, and the thing that complicates everything in her life is her boyfriend is also her boss, which makes life very complicated and has some quite big consequences. So it's their anniversary of their first date. It's Valentine's Day. They're in this beautiful restaurant, and he decides that he's going to do a grand gesture and propose to her. And as you've probably guessed, by her frowning in confusion in the first line, this is an absolute disaster of massive proportions. She's told him that she's not ready to get married, and he clearly hasn't listened and puts her in a situation where she feels like she should be saying yes. And it did not go down well at all. And so the upshot of this disastrous opening chapter is that she not only loses her boyfriend, but he fires her and she loses her job, which then creates a new problem for her over the next couple of months where she's applying for jobs everywhere in the local area and keeps getting rejected. And part of that issue is that her former boss's mother is a mayor of their local area. Their family has a lot of influence, and basically she's been blackballed and no one will give her a job. So she's been sabotaged, and she's starting off at the very beginning of the story in a really difficult place. She does have a grandmother's trust fund, but she can't live on that. She actually needs to get a job, and she needs to restart her career. And that's one of her goals in the story, is to actually get a really good job in the DC metro area. So I'm going to introduce you to Tyson next. So he's our hero. He's 27 years old, the same age as Jenna. He works at his family's B&B on the island. So it's Virginia Barrier Island is their hometown. He's also a volunteer firefighter and a saltwater cowboy. And there are all these wild ponies on the island. There's like a herd of them that are protected. And the saltwater cowboys that are connected to the fire department look after the ponies. And this is all based on real life stuff. And this particular island, which I didn't write the name down because I knew there was no way I could pronounce it properly with my Aussie accent. This particular island is a tourist destination, and a lot of the information related to the saltwater cowboys and the ponies is from real life. So that was a fascinating part of the story. So at the start of the story, Tyson is recently divorced. So his ex-wife dumped him and she also cheated on him. So there's a lot of emotional baggage that goes with that. So he lives at the family B&B after what's gone on with his ex-wife, and that's across the road from where Jenna's mum lives, where she grew up. So Tyson and Jenna, as you probably guessed, have been friends for a long time, childhood friends since they were 12, and Tyson's family moved in across the road. And the meet cute in the story is very low key because they're already friends. It's not like they're reconnecting after not talking to each other for ages. They've been in touch, and they've been in touch more often after everything went down with his ex-wife, and Jenna was supporting him through that. So we get a very low-key introduction to Tyson in the story, and they are very much in the friend zone. And at the beginning of the story, there's no hint of romance that could happen, but that all happens a bit later. So this story has so many problems. We have Jenna who can't get a job in the city that she's qualified for, and she ends up staying with her mum, and she ends up staying there longer, and she does pick up some casual work as like a canoeing and doing tour guide stuff, which is what she did when she was younger, and she really enjoyed that when she was living on the island. But that work's not permanent, and it's summer work, and it's basically to try and get her through so she can find the right job in the city to go back to. And then we've got Jenna's mum, who's come back from a cruise and she's got a new boyfriend in tow. And we're not quite sure whether he's the real deal or if he's a con artist who's there to steal all the money. So Jenna lost her dad when she was 12. And so her mum has a history of making some pretty unwise choices in terms of who she's dated in the past. So Jenna does have reason to believe that this person may not be the real deal. And this is part of the mystery that plays out in the story. So Jenna feels like she needs to protect her mum, so she stays in her childhood home, which is kind of part of the reason as to why she extends her stay on the island. So Jenna's emotional baggage is very complicated. She has childhood trauma due to the circumstances of why her dad passed away, which I'm not going to talk about because it will be kind of a story spoiler if I go there. And of course, from the opening chapter, she's got some pretty big emotional baggage to deal with the ex-boss, ex-boyfriend, and the ruthless way he dumped her, and why and how that relationship happened in the first place is something that Jenna needs to work out in the story. And so Tyson also has his own emotional baggage, obviously with his ex-wife and the divorce. There's a whole lot of stuff there that needs to be played out. He also has some problems at the fire station that are of his own making. He made couple of unwise decisions that have come back to haunt him as well. And that is another situation that plays out in the story. But I absolutely love this story. It was a really sweet and fun friends to more romance. And the charm of the trope is there. So what I really liked is for me, the friends to more trope has charm because you're risking a friendship. You've got two people who have a really solid friendship and they've been friends for a long time, and they know that if they move out of that friend zone and they start dating their friend, that if the dating relationship goes sour, then the friendship's probably gone as well. So it's quite high stakes in terms of, do I really want to risk this friendship by exploring romantic feelings, etc. And I loved how that played out in the story because their romance, it was cute and it was fun and it was light-hearted, and it was a really easy summer beach read as well, which I really enjoyed. And the quirky small town characters were just charming and added a lot of fun and interesting moments to the story. And we also had some family drama, and part of that was Jenna's mum and the boyfriend and what was going on in that situation. And we also had a resolution to a toxic personality situation. And I really liked this because the person who was running a smear campaign didn't get away with it. And in the real world, you often don't see that justice, but we saw that justice in the story, and I really liked that. And the wild ponies on the island, I was just in love with the whole pony thing. And I'm not going to talk anymore because I don't want to spoil it, but it was a really fascinating and fun part of the story that I really appreciated seeing the ponies and the setting and the history with that, and also the saltwater cowboys and how all that worked as well. So, my favorite book quote in the story is this one: I'm not going to let fear hold me back anymore. So, this is one of our main characters talking, although, to be fair, either of them could have actually said this because they were both dealing with fears that they needed to overcome. And so, with this story, I would describe as having relevant faith elements that are very organic to the story and underpin the story, but they're also very light on the page. So, you may start reading this book thinking, am I reading a Christian fiction novel? And I can assure you, you are definitely reading a Christian fiction novel, but you aren't going to have overt faith contents on the page, but those faith contents are definitely, the faith elements are definitely there and they underpin what's actually going on in the story. And so, in terms of the faith elements, we've got our characters that need to overcome fears. We've got trust issues that need to be addressed and looked at and resolved. We've also got characters dealing with grief and loss, which is past and present as well. We have abandonment issues that need to be looked at as well, and forgiveness themes are also an important part of the story and get drawn out as well. So, in terms of the impact on me, there were lots of smiles because this was just a lovely, fun story that I just really enjoyed reading. And I was looking for something light and easy to read because there was some heavier stuff happening in my life when I was reading this book. And it was just so lovely to escape into this novel and to go to a different world and with different characters and forget my real life and actually have fun in reading and enjoying what's going on with the characters in this story. And at the same time, there were a few poignant moments because the characters are dealing with past hurts and the emotional baggage needed to be addressed in the story. So we did have a few of those moments that really did make me think. And one of the things that I was thinking about, and one of the themes that got drawn out, was the importance of truth. And that's in the context of reconciling and dealing with broken relationships and looking at whether a broken relationship can actually be reconciled as well. And it really reminded me of the problems that fake people can create, particularly with their lies. And when they're not honest and they lack integrity and do things that are really appalling and disgusting in many ways, those issues, and I mean, these people can just cause so many problems and just be so toxic. And I just loved how Denise really drew out what was going on, and I love the way she resolved it. I thought it had a lot of spiritual truths that underpinned the way she resolved certain things that happen in the story. And I can't really say anymore because I don't want to give away spoilers. And so repentance and forgiveness and truth, they all have to be there to resolve broken relationships. And if you don't have all of those three things happening, it's very difficult to restore a relationship that has any kind of authenticity and isn't just shallow and fake. So the subtle faith elements were very much there, and they underpin the story, even though they're not necessarily spelled out on the page. The faith elements are definitely there. So, in summary, I would recommend More Than Friends to readers who like charming friends to more romances, to readers who like childhood friends that end up in a romantic relationship in the friends to more situation, to readers who like summer beach reads that are light and breezy and fun and enjoyable, and to readers who like firefighter heroes and family drama and a mystery in the story, and to readers who like relevant faith elements that are very organic and include dealing with trust and forgiveness themes. Thanks for joining me today. Does More Than Friends sound like a book that you'd like to read? Have you read it? What did you think? You can let me know. If you're listening on the podcast, you can send me a text via a link at the show notes. If you're watching at YouTube, you can like the episode at YouTube and also leave a comment at YouTube. You can also email me at my website where I have a contact form, and you'll find that at narelleatkins.com. And if you've enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, and you can do that at your favorite podcasting app, or you can subscribe at YouTube, and then you'll get a notification on when my next episode drops. And if you've enjoyed this episode, please share the link with a friend, and that's a friend who likes reading contemporary romance and a friend who you think would enjoy reading Denise's books. So thanks for tuning in, and see you next time.